Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Welcome, everyone, to Reckless Speculation. We are live on April the 4th, 2024. As you saw our intro, from the Motor City to the Volunteer State. Well, we're going to get to the Volunteer State here very shortly because there are a lot of pissed off people at the Volunteer State. But before we do, one, thanks for watching. Follow the show. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, X, and then the others, some other one I'm not familiar with, but I miss it every week. All right. Welcome. I promise you this is going to be a good show. Let me welcome the team, and then I'll get right to it. Brandon, how's it going?
Going good. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the game.
Tom?
Yeah, I have a feeling this might be one for the memory books here. I think I might, for the first time, have to put explicit language when I upload it to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as those are the two that you were unfamiliar with. So
we don't have the Apple logo down there, do we? I don't know. Okay,
we have the Apple Podcast logo. Yes, it's
okay.
It's the green striped one.
Yeah. Oh, is that the one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Learn purple one.
All right. Raj is making his way. He'll probably echo my thoughts and final thoughts. But guys, I'm just going to get right to it. Look, I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm a Titans fan. I'm a Predators fan. I'm used to heartbreak. I'm used to losing. Never really won a championship. Don't really expect to. But I'll let people make their own opinion, whether it's fixed, whether it's influence, whether those are the same, whether you can use those intertwinably. But this was preposterous. And I was mad about the game, about the foul calls, about how Tennessee played. We had really one guy show up, maybe 1.5, and Dalton was amazing. But the more I got to think about it, so I'm still pissed about this. It's Thursday as we're recording this. The game was on Sunday. I had to cancel my flights tomorrow, but it's not about money. I don't care about the money. I don't care about my bracket. I just want to walk you through this and let me recklessly speculate a little bit. What's the weakest entity in sports we have in America? The NCAA. What is the NCAA's biggest thing that they own? The only thing they own that they can make money off of?
The tournament.
This tournament. What do we say on this show all the time? What sports are a competition, and what else are they? A TV show.
Entertainment.
Okay. Now, what does the NCAA need to sell its most valuable asset, which is this TV show, which culminates in the Final Four? It needs audience. Okay. So, Tom, can you show the Elite Eight bracket?
From
just the matchups. So, it's UConn. No, you show all 8 of them.
Oh, they're all individuals. So.
Okay. So, UConn was the early game versus Illinois on Saturday. UConn won. Okay. So, Northeast accounted for on the TV market. Guess who's left in the tournament? You have Alabama, Clemson. You have Duke, North Carolina, and you have Purdue and Tennessee. Which one of those isn't like the other? You are getting a TV market from the Southeast. That's undeniable, whether it's Alabama, Duke, North Carolina State, or Clemson, or Tennessee. One of those, that market is secure. So, what does the NCAA not necessarily mandate, but what do they need to happen? They need Purdue. They need a Midwest TV market.
The Big Ten.
Yeah, and the Big Ten. They've already got, and once Alabama won Saturday, they had the SEC market. They have the ACC market guaranteed. They're selling a TV product. Now, I'm not saying they fixed it, but I am saying either subconsciously or not.
You're kind of saying that they fixed it.
You make a good point. I can't disagree with that.
The refs are saying, or the NCAA wants the Big Ten in it. They just do. And then you look at the facts. So there's my that's my speculation. But then you look at the facts. If you guys watched the game, it was Zach Edey shooting free throws. That's what it was. Zach Edey alone shot 22 free throws. Just him. The Vols team shot 11. We have big guys too. We have NBA players too. The other Purdue big man only shot 1. They're it just wasn't a fair fight. Now, look, they won. I'm simply putting it out there that we talk about in jury selection. Can you come into this unbiased and set your biases aside? I don't think this happened. I do not think those refs came into this game thinking we're gonna even the playing field and see who wins this. One player doesn't. I know he's a freak, and I told these guys before show he is knocked Sister Jean off of my hate list, and so
that's pretty
yes,
high praise right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
We all know your non-love for Sister Jean,
and so it was just unwatchable. I wish I wasn't the messenger. I talk about bias. I am biased. Is that my computer? I'm killing my own monologue. I wish I wasn't the messenger because I am biased, and I am angry, and I've been thinking through why this happened, and just it pisses me off. And then here's the final thought, and I will end it at this. Why is what was the last crux in the NCAA being the weakest entity in professionals or in sports in America?
It was
Tennessee. So just another level of the it just being a perfect storm. And yeah,
Robbie, did you lock yourself in a room and just dig deep with a lot of hallucinogenics?
Sorry.
And because I'm telling you, I think you make up a valid point, especially with the Tennessee football program that basically, went after the NCAA head on and won. So, it certainly makes you wonder, makes you question, whether or not it was rigged or not. Who knows? But those are valid points for sure.
Yeah, not saying it was rigged, just saying it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's very similar to NFL too, right? Like you'll see certain games where the refs go crazy and a call here or there, pass interference or something ends the game or changes the entire, outcome of the game. I don't think they're necessarily rigged, but I think they are favored depending on what the TV show entity is wanting to happen. because it was very, very trigger happy on the fouls against Edey. I mean, some of them were just absurd. Some were valid, and Tennessee they got into foul trouble early, which did not help their situation. And it wasn't just against Edey; it was perimeter fouls and other deals. But they were very whistle happy against Tennessee, and a big man like that, you've got a body, right? Like you got to put. That's the only way to defend him is a little bit of power, knock him off the spot. And the other thing I want to complain about, and you didn't bring this up, which I'm surprised, is the paint violation.
Oh.
He was in the paint for like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And no whistles. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like that's a blatant, obvious. Anybody can see that.
Well, how you can be 7-4, play 39 minutes and 30 seconds. You get 16 fouls called for you and only one on you. And there was a blatant elbow to the face on a rebound. That's a flagrant in college. It just is.
And this is nothing new. He's been doing this.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago there was a expose on him showing him manhandling defenders, and they weren't calling on him. So
yeah, I just we were kind of talking about pre-show. I don't believe they know how to call a game with him in it, and know how to call against him. It's too every time he gets touched when he's trying to turn and shoot or anything. I mean, it's automatic foul, regardless if it's mostly ball.
Point. I think if you would have asked Rick Barnes, hey, will you consent to having Big Ten refs at this game? He would have said, yeah. Give me somebody who's seen him multiple times.
Right.
That knows how to at least how he plays and to give him a call. Well, what'd you got? So that was my rant. I'll calm down and move more into host mode if I can. Obviously, UConn looked awesome. They just steamrolled the other teams. What did y'all got? Yeah, Illinois, who was hot coming in, and I thought they had a real chance. What did you guys make of first the Clemson Alabama game and then the Duke NC State game? Tom?
Well, first off, I think a lot of people tuning in had to, really look at themselves and realize they were watching a basketball game, not a bowl game. So never in a million years would I thought Clemson and Alabama in the Elite Eight game. But I mean, I think it was close. I think that was the most competitive game, and I think Alabama benefited from being in an easier bracket, and to face Clemson, they kind of got the road paved nicely for them. But good for that program. Good for Nate Oates, who started his coaching career less than an hour from here at Romulus High for 11 years. He was a teacher, and I read a thing that he used to sell snacks during football games and to help make money for the basketball program. So, kudos to him. He's a great coach, and I know you don't want to hear that, but I'm kind of rooting for the guy.
He is a great coach, but yeah,
I'm sure Barry, who's watching, is pumping his fists at the moment that I said that. But no, go Nate Oates. I'm got a little pull for him.
Well, Brandon, what'd you make of DJ Burns and the Wolfpack taking down Duke?
Yeah, man. What a story DJ is, right? He was on the Vols at one point.
Yes, he was.
His freshman year, and
he
was kind of a journeyman. Yeah, kind of a journeyman through. What's this? His sixth year?
I think he went somewhere else earlier on, and then NC State.
Either fifth or sixth year, but he's really been outstanding this year, the whole way, and that was a huge surprise to see them. Even though it was my bet you're nuts, I said I did love the +6.5 position.
Yeah, talk about a hot team. They won 5 through the NCAA or ACC tournament. Now they're
exactly. Once they won the ACC, I mean, they're just rolling. That's the thing about this. it's not the best team that always wins. Just like, MLB playoffs, it's the hot team and the hot hand, hot shooter, and that's what you get. And I'm sure we'll get to this about the Final Four matchups, but I'm really looking forward to that dude versus Edie.
Yeah, that would be a good matchup. Talk about the best teams always get here. Another shameless plug. Yeah, UT beat Alabama twice, beat NC State. It's matchups and
then if you go back and look, NC State had to go to overtime to beat Oakland. So to think that, if Oakland would have prevailed in that game, we could be looking at an Oakland in the Final Four because that team was competitive as anybody in the tournament thus far. That kind of just shows you it's very hard to predict, and you never know what team you're going to get that particular night. So
matchups are really important, really, really important. And there's some teams you just there's just some teams you can't match up well with, no matter how many people you rotate in and out of the bench. So you got to be creative there.
Yeah. Well, one of the toughest things, especially the Sweet 16 Elite Eight, is that Sweet 16 matchup. If that's tough, and then having to flip right around and play another Elite Eight game. So some people cruise and they get a good matchup in the Sweet 16 and then get more rest.
Yeah, you guys had the late game on Friday night, which obviously, you can go down the conspusy hole.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. I left that alone.
Purdue had 6 hours longer rest than you guys did, all this stuff. But
that was.
I mean, once you get down the conspiracy rabbit hole, there's a lot of supporting evidence that you can bring.
Yeah, that was my complaint.
As a trial lawyer, I'm sure that was my complaint
last week before the games. Let's move on from what was the somewhat usual entertainment into what I thought was amazing. These women's games. Did y'all watch?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched one of them anyway.
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah. So, I'll start off with the thing. Iowa LSU lived up to the hype, Brandon?
It did. It did not disappoint. I knew there was going to be a little vengeance coming from Miss Clark toward LSU and that whole squad. Even though she was, after the loss last year, she was very respectful and whatever. But she did not hold back, and she was on fire. She just could not miss, and it was very entertaining, very fun to watch. Even LSU, I mean, they're a bigger team. They're all bigs, and to watch them kind of crumble somewhat and couldn't catch up with Caitlin and her threes from the logo or wherever she's shooting them from. I mean, she's ridiculous, and that's what brings light to the women's sport. Like when you have entertainers like that, that's where you see men's sports dominate, because you have so many of these kind of entertainers throughout, whatever it is. No knock on any women or anything, but it's different sometimes. And you see a little bit more skilled players that attract more attention. And maybe that's just bad on me. I don't pay enough attention to some of the other sport. I mean, college basketball, I don't hardly pay attention to till this time of year anyway. So, but everyone knows who Caitlin Clark is. Everyone knows who Angel Reese is. Those are two of the high-profile players, and it definitely lived up to the hype. The rematch was great. Two of the best teams in the league. It was definitely a TV show. It was very entertaining.
Tom, what did you think? Especially this. I mean, the LSU Iowa, the USC UConn game. What a show they put on.
Oh yeah, that was. I did actually watch that too. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, you had probably the most anticipated game, men's or women's, this year with LSU and Iowa, and you knew that Caitlin Clark was looking forward to this game. And you talked about matchups in the last segment. That poor girl they put on Caitlin Clark, she was clueless. She was 2 steps behind. I Iowa kept running a high screen and roll, and they were so worried about her hitting the long threes. Would she have 9 assists? I mean, she was dropping dimes to other girls, and it was incredible. And I'll put the highlight or the graphic up here in a minute about the ratings. People watched. A lot of people watched, and a lot of people watched probably for the first time. A lot of basketball fans that have never sat down to watch a women's college basketball game watched this game, and I think they came out impressed. I think the road, the future of women's college basketball is huge because, Raj will talk about Juju. I think that's her name, the fantastic freshman. You're getting these girls coming up that are, I mean, they're all world talent athletes. And it just, I mean, you hoped at the tip that this was going to be a game that, because everyone talked about for almost a week or for a few days, and this is what they wanted, and you hoped that it was going to live up to it, and it absolutely was. And Caitlin Clark was professional on all ends, and I know Angel Reese was a little, emotional at the end when she fouled out, but I mean, she's a hell of a competitor. What she did last year, winning the national championship, but this show is advocated for the women's game, and I'm telling you, watch out because I think the future's bright.
Raj, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Can I quickly state or ask about the elephant in the room? I heard by a lot of people, and let's just flat out call it what it is. Now, this is certainly not something I believe, but wow, they played more like men than, I didn't realize this and that type of thing. There was always a misogynistic and chauvinistic, in my opinion, view of women's basketball. Maybe not in Tennessee, but I did hear that, and I could not have been the only one. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but did you guys get any feedback of those types of things? Did people come away impressed with, because I've always been impressed as a basketball purist with the level of basketball, the level of fundamentals. They can't dunk, or they, turn the ball over a lot, or this type of thing. It's a completely different game. And if you've ever played the game, then you have a deep appreciation for what is going on as teams and with ball movement and whatnot. And there's a reason why Orama, Kim Mulkey, Dawn Staley, these coaches at USC excited, Lindsey Gottlieb. I know Tennessee, my father-in-law lost his mind with your former coach and she got canned. But there's a reason why coaching means so much in women's basketball, and it's really a pure form of hoop. And my apologies on being late. As soon as I said I'd be here in 5, I almost got pulled over, which was awesome.
And Raj, I'll kind of piggyback the purist or that aspect. It's like watching Europeans play. They learn the fundamentals. They don't play competitively till they're 14. So they learn the game inside and out before they step foot against any type of competition. And I think the fact that they can't dunk and they're not as athletic as the men, I think that focuses their attention more on fundamentals and honing in on their skills. So I think you're absolutely right in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you understand the game of basketball and the fundamentals, and when you watch, and women do this actually better than men, like with ball movement and posting it, like old school posting it. The men are, it's become so much of a entertainment factor and a wow factor, and these crazy dunks and all this kind of stuff, to where when you see some, like especially during NBA playoffs, you'll start to see these guys really move the ball and really play defense. They don't do that all season long. But when it comes down to crunch time, but the women, they do this all season long, and they're coached well. The fundamentals are sound, and it's almost like, I'm not a big soccer fan, but watching the soccer game, like it 1-0 game, but you watch the fundamentals in soccer, and to people that actually know what's going on, enjoy that and enjoy the fundamentals. And I think it's the same for the women, but now we're starting to see some of these flashy players come up at this time, and it's drawing a lot more of your novice fan attention, and that's what's driving this whole thing. It's been there all along. Go back in the Pat Summitt days of UT, and the big UConn, and all this stuff. It's been a lot of battles back in the day, but I think the whole Steph Curry thing kind of paved the way. Now you're starting to see Caitlin Clark, and then the battles down below with Angel Reese, and social media is a big influence. And now these people are getting out there and getting seen. So it's kind of the perfect storm for this to happen. But I think it's setting some ground that, hey, this is just as entertaining if you actually focus and watch it.
Can I quickly piggyback on this? And Robbie, I don't know if you have this following up. Now, I know we're going to talk about the men versus the women, but that's one thing that I really paid attention to this year. And Tom nailed it with Juju Watkins, who was second in the country in scoring as a true freshman. I would send clips of just, now she did force action. She's got 3 more years, but 27, 7, 3. If you saw her crossovers and step backs, insane. But that's my point, is with the women right now versus the men, you have personalities and rivalries. And, with UConn, Aaliyah Edwards and Paige Bueckers, I can never pronounce her name. All I know is she's a winner. Oriama
Paige
called
Bucket.
her the best
I call
player.
her Paige Buckets.
Yeah, exactly. Paige Buckets. Oriama called her the best player in the country for a reason. And whether that was psych shit or what, I don't know, but it's as sound as they get. Obviously Caitlin Clark, who,
let's throw the numbers up there, Tom. And while you're doing that, a lot of people are asking me to comment on Alabama basketball in the chat. As you guys know, Tennessee has moved on. It's baseball season now. We'll address basketball after football season. So this game, as people that aren't watching live, I'll just read it to everyone real quick. The Iowa LSU game had 12.3 million viewers. Put that into context. Higher than any women's college basketball game. Higher than, I think, every game except Game 5 of the NBA Finals, the entire World Series, the Orange Bowl, Big Ten Championship, Cotton Bowl, Pac-12 Championship, Big 12 Championship, ACC Championship, Peach Bowl, even a Thursday night football game of the NFL. Granted, it was on Amazon, but they beat that. And every 2023 college football regular season game except Ohio State and Michigan. That is phenomenal. And as we're talking men versus women, is this, and we're talking about personalities, is this kind of a game-changing event to kind of, people have tuned in to watch? And, or is this just a perfect storm this season? We talked about having the personalities of the people we just mentioned. If you had to lean one way or the other, which one do you think? We'll start with you, Brandon.
I think the personalities have kind of always been there. I just don't think there's been enough attention on it. And like I said, I really honestly believe social media has been a huge influence on this and a big movement for that. When you can put clips and almost market yourself or your team. Everyone's got their own social media marketing guru with every business and every, program nowadays. So
NIL.
I think that's a big deal, and I think people are actually starting to sit down and watch it and understand that. Okay, now Caitlin Clark, she's a generational player, right? So yes, we caught that on the upswing, but there's a lot of other great players that in women's basketball that in the past that have been there. We just they didn't get as much attention. So I definitely think with this perfect storm combination, there's going to be a lot more eyeballs on women's college basketball.
Let me ask you this question, because I just you see Caitlin Clark with the heart and this stuff. Is there a carryover of this Taylor Swift phenomenon of sports are fun and watching the NFL and this is fun and we're watching women play now. Let's see what they do. And is there a whole new generation of sports fans?
So I brought this up, I think 3 weeks ago on the show, how I felt like this is a direct correlation to the Taylor Swift effect. Now, if you stop and you look at it, Taylor Swift brought so much attention to the NFL with being, relationship with Travis Kelce. So now you have all these girls that are watching football. They might not be able to relate 100% to the game, but guess what? There's a woman out there that's dominating not only the athletic court, but she's everywhere on commercials. She is a very humble person. She's somebody that you could, see your son being with. Just she's a good human being. So now these girls look at that like, hey, there's somebody out there like me that is a great athlete that I could pay attention to. And I really think the door has been blown off its hinges as far as the possibilities of where college basketball goes for women. And not only college basketball, Caitlin Clark's going to take this into the WNBA, and the Indiana Fever is going to pick her. Season tickets are already flying off the shelves. And wherever she goes, there's going to be a lot of people that have never stepped foot in a WNBA game going. So I just think having this one player and then having Taylor Swift kind of just the motivating momentum factor in the girl movement, that I put it on the upper left-hand corner, girl power. And it's showing because the ratings spoke for itself. I mean, it's just, and it's not a bad product. You're seeing a great product. And you talk about personalities, and I know it's not a comparison sports wise, but you look at NASCAR. NASCAR started getting popular again. Why? These drivers have personalities. And I think when the people see these women play and they see their grit and their competitive drive, I think that puts the mantra of the girl playing like a girl out the pasture, because the reality is these girls can play and it's fun to watch, and watch out.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
And Raj, so I want to ask you, you mentioned all the players. Now we have Juju Watson still in college. Paige Beckers, I think, still has another year to play. But you have Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, presumably going to the WNBA. Is this finally the connector that the WNBA needs as far as hype? And then the college game still, and you still have South Carolina may try to go back to back. So you have the Evil Empire now moving to Columbia. And then hopefully Tennessee gets this high right. If Tennessee is back, you're looking at a huge momentum, and they can keep this running as far as women's college basketball. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. And yeah, it's not only about personality, but first of all, if we look at this here, and I don't want to use the word drama, but I'm starting with Steph Curry before Taylor Swift, and he didn't have to do what he did back to back against INSQ, and he knew what he was doing. Like Kobe, he's a girl dad. He really, I think, started that movement, and I'm not going to debate who started what, Taylor Swift absolutely put a spotlight. You know, I have family that never played basketball, but they know who Caitlin Clark is, and they watched it, and they knew how long Taylor Swift was on, you know, the TV percentage wise, less than 1% up to a certain games, but they were watching. But you know, like this year, like I said, Curry, you had Caitlin Clark, the Cardoso, if you guys saw that fight with South Carolina undefeated, the freshman Full Wiley, who can just flat out play. You've seen her move. She's like I'm not going to go Kobe on anything like that, but she really moves well. Oriama, Mulkey, just personalities galore. And finally, they deliver. If you're going to see these games, they deliver. Juju had 29 and 10. Paige Buckets, thank you, Brandon, had 28, 10, and 6. And then you go to LSU, Angel Reese, not to mention the drama there and the rivalry. I think everyone knows what they're doing, but Reese had 17 and 20. And then finally, Caitlin Clark had 41.
Insane.
You get what you pay for. And it's a product that I think finally has a lot more exposure for everything you guys said. And I think it absolutely will carry over. I think the WNBA, you know, depending on how it responds versus college, because there's certainly a rivalry aspect in college that doesn't exist in the WNBA. But I've said this before, you can't declare unless you turn 22 the year of the draft, or you graduate within 3 months of like your 22nd birthday or some crap. So I'm curious to see how they respond and move that up. But it's, as of right now, it's just blowing up. And I think you guys all nailed it.
And then we, you know, you heard people, I don't know if it was us, if we did it specifically, but you heard people all week long crushing the NCAA women's selection committee for these pairings in the Elite Eight. They got lucky and they got it right, because it was all kinds of drama in the Final Four, Iowa, UConn, NC State, and South Carolina. It's going to be great also.
USC was probably the weakest one, and they got a 3 in UConn. And as soon as we saw that pop up,
yeah,
you know, like they knew exactly what they were doing. But yeah, they got it right.
So real quickly, let's pick. We don't need any breakdown. Just pick the women's Final Four, because we got a men's Final Four section coming next. Tom, who do you got?
I'm gonna stick with Iowa. I think Caitlin Clark showed that she can do other things besides hit threes from the logo. I think there's so much attention brought to her, and if her teammates can meet the moment, I think it's kind of in the cards for Iowa.
You got Iowa winning it all, or just beating UConn?
I got Iowa winning it all.
Okay, Raj.
Voting, bro. South Carolina, UConn, South Carolina winning it all. They're going undefeated.
All right, Brandon.
Oh, it's tough. I've got to stick with Iowa, the popular one here. I mean, Caitlin Clark's on a mission, I think. I think she wants revenge after coming in second last year. South Carolina has been a tough one all year, though. So I do think it's going to be chalk here. I think it's going to be Iowa and South Carolina in the championship game, and that is going to be must-see TV.
You got a winner picked for that?
I'm going Iowa.
Okay.
Real quick, before we move, before you hear your pick, tickets for the Final Four are averaging $2,800 for the women's Final Four.
That's awesome.
$1,000 for the men's. First time in history
that
the women's Final Four is outperforming as far as the third party.
Honestly,
it's
if you gave me an option, I would rather go to watch the women's.
You saw Reckless Speculation Twitter. It noted that it was 2-1 in price, but it will be more than 3-1 come Saturday.
I agree with that 100%.
I think the women are going to outdraw the men again.
And Hey, I'm telling you what, this UConn Iowa game is going to be must see TV.
Yes.
Caitlin Clark and Paige Buckets. I mean, before we knew about Caitlin Clark, we knew Paige Buckets. You know, she had the ACL tear a year ago or whatever, sat her out. But that game is going to be. I think
set records.
Whoever comes out of that is going to win the national championship.
I got UConn. I want Iowa, but I have UConn. I agree with Raj. Coaching is hard to overcome, even with a generational talent. And then I got South Carolina, and then the two powerhouses, and I got Carolina winning, going undefeated, like a wet blanket. All right, let's move to the men's side of the draw. Raj, I don't know if you heard my intro, but you can probably guess I was not happy.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm sure it reminded you of Hunter Dickinson 2 years ago, and not only the foul shots, which maybe you forgot to address that each player shot about 61% from the field. So it wasn't just the referees. It was a lack of bigs, and Tennessee fouling quite a bit, being out of position. And I know I'm going to get killed for that, but
foul trouble. Anyway, we talked about it. All right, men's Final Four.
Yeah, I hate being right. So
I did mention a lot of foul trouble and perimeter fouls, not only on Edey. So.
Again, you're shooting 60% for Dickinson, 62 for Edey. They were getting looks at the bucket all day. They were getting position, so fouls are going to happen.
Purdue shot 45%.
Were there some bad calls? Hell yeah, there were.
Yeah, Purdue shot 45% from the field.
No, I'm talking about Edey.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
they both shot, and Dickinson did
also. And one.
Did you see him cutting the net down like with no ladder?
Yeah, just standing there.
Cutting
it. All right.
That's just ridiculous.
What are you guys? So we'll start on the left side of the bracket. UConn versus Alabama. Raj, preview the game and give us a pick.
Alabama was 11 for 26 against North Carolina from 3. And then against Clemson, they were 16 for 36. And you got a team with balance in the backcourt. But really, it's the emergence of the porn star, Grant Nelson, who ended up with, he didn't play as well against Clemson, but 24 and 12 against UConn. Against UNC. All this being said, look at what UConn's defense is doing. And in terms of what they're holding teams to percentage-wise, not only from the perimeter, they are plus, I wrote it down, so far in the tournament, they're plus 22 in assists, so they're moving the basketball, and they're plus 40 in rebounds.
There it is.
Plus 40 against San Diego State. They had 50 boards to 29, and they weren't shooting terribly. They shot 46%. So you've just got the deepest team with extra transfers, and Bama, I love the way they play, but UConn is very versatile, and Bama's run ends here.
Now, do we have an update on the Bama travel situation? Have they been able to leave yet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
The weather and whatnot.
Yeah, the NCAA is in charge. So again, this stupid organization is in charge of flying the teams out, and so they can't get the planes into Connecticut area, Hartford, I assume, because of the bad weather. And so UConn was supposed to be there already, and so I'm just curious because it's a whole different ball game shooting in a gym versus shooting in a football stadium, and so I wonder if this gives. I mean, UConn is a 11.5 point favorite. I wonder if that. Do you give a slight little maybe first half edge to Alabama? See if UConn takes them a little longer to get warmed up. I don't know, Brandon. What's your take on this matchup?
I definitely think UConn's unbeatable at this point. I mean, you guys called it earlier. They've been kind of the darling favorite, and they have proven that, especially with what Raj just spit out on the defensive side and the rebounding. I mean, that's just incredible. If they keep that up, there's not a team in the country that can beat them. So Alabama, I think, was kind of underdogs against North Carolina. They pulled that out, but I agree with Raj. Their run ends here.
Yeah, I'm surprised UConn lost 3 games this year, to be honest. Tom, what's your kind of preview and pick of the game?
I'll just say this. UConn went on a 30-0 run against probably one of the top 3 hottest teams coming into that game. 30-0 run. Absolutely dismantled Illinois. And they didn't stop. They didn't stop. They brought their backups in and they kept it. It's just, this is a complete team. This is a team trying to go back-to-back for the first time since I couldn't tell you.
2008 LSU or 2007
Florida.
LSU?
Florida went 07, 08 or 06, 07.
Yeah, Florida.
In Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley's proven he's a hell of a coach. And, you know, not a lot of people were talking about UConn earlier in the season. And they came into this tournament and just absolutely blowing doors off of everybody. So, it's a great story. Roll Tide, yep. But they're going to be rolling back out of Phoenix. Pretty disappointed.
Yeah, Nate Oates' offense. I mean, it is really tough to defend because it's 3 or layup. That's all. They don't shoot jump shots. Don't shoot anything. It's either layups or threes. So they're capable of getting hot. But man, that UConn defense and they're just relentless. They're just like an angry team. Like, yeah, they just keep coming at you.
Yeah,
so I'm talking about real quick about the Plains, and let's not forget last year UConn played in Houston and Energy Stadium with almost the same team. So they definitely have the experience, the pregame hype, all of that stuff. But yeah, I certainly the NCAA are a bunch of boobs, but I don't think it affects UConn at all.
I'm with you guys. It's unanimous. I think Alabama has achieved its season, while UConn is they expected to be here and they expect to go further. But I think by far the most interesting matchup. Definitely one team that no one expected to be here and kind of the darling of the tournament, and that is DJ Burns. Matches up against the free throw guy. So
let's see how the refs call this one, dude.
Yeah,
this is gonna be interesting.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Did you see the line to meet him today at like an Applebee's or some shit?
Oh, DJ Burns.
Yeah, like wrapped like around Raleigh, North Carolina.
Well, Tom, start with you this time. What's your breakdown of this game and who you like?
Well, I think the one thing that a lot of teams haven't been able to do is body up Zach Edey. He's kind of had free reign to the hoop. It happened last week. Sorry, Robbie. But I don't think that's going to be such an easy task.
Do I need to go back through my list of notes on what happened?
No, you don't. We heard it. I think Burns, his size is going to be a big problem for Zach Edey. And I think the reality is, outside of Edey, Purdue's just kind of average. They just have a 7'4" guy that gets the ball and can get to the rim. I thought
you said a 7 foot fuck, and then I thought that was Robbie again.
They have a 7'4" guy that likes to go to dispensaries in the Detroit metro area, and no, but I think the reality is Burns is going to body him up pretty good, and I think NC State can keep it close toward the end, and I think NC State's going to come out with a win here. I really think this is a nightmare matchup for Purdue, and Burns is hot, and he's got Jokic from the Denver Nuggets on his side. Jokic was talking about him in post game the other day, said the guy's incredible. So I think the girth of DJ Burns is gonna slow down Zach Edey. Give me NC State.
All right. Yeah. Well, I honestly, in my mind, think Purdue's practices are run down the court, throw the ball in the middle, then shoot free throws. Like, I think that's what I don't think they have to run sprints or run plays. It's just dribble down, throw it in the middle, shoot a free throw.
Is that why Edey averaged 40 and 16 like so far in the tournament?
Yeah, because he shoots free throws. I mean, they're free. They're free throws.
Well, he's missed a lot of free throws too. Just think of
that.
that.
Yeah. It's translated to 9 extra points per game, though. I figured it out.
Which is crazy. That's
Tennessee lost by 6, so never mind. But
so, and this is where it's going to be a travesty if they call 2 quick fouls on Burns and get him out. Like, they've got to let these two play. I mean, of course, they're going to let Edey play because he doesn't foul. It's impossible. But they need to keep Burns out of foul trouble. I agree. Edey's just been able to run down, get his spot, get the ball, get fouled, as I've mentioned. I think I've brought that up. But so I do think that Burns gives him a tough matchup. Purdue being favored by 9.5, I think it's a lot. We'll get to bet your nuts. Yeah, just if there's a sports god, yes, NC State's going to win. Brandon?
You know, but you guys have stole my thunder a little bit. This is exactly how I've had this playing out in my head, is if the refs let them play, I think Edey's going to have a lot of trouble. I think Burns, he's an offensive lineman playing basketball. I mean, this dude is huge. He will body him if they will allow. Hopefully, Edey doesn't post in the paint for 10 seconds and not get called. But I love NC State's spot here. They're a hot team right now, hot hand. I think Robbie's pretty spot on. I don't think outside of Edey, Purdue's very special at all. I mean, they typically shoot a few more threes than they did against Tennessee, but I mean, they were like 3 for 11 or something against UT. I mean, not very wow factor. It was, Edey shooting 22 free throws.
It's weird not shooting a free throw for them.
Right. Yeah. So
the basket so far away.
Like we talked about earlier, matchups are huge, and I think this is the worst matchup nightmare for Edey. Maybe in college basketball. I don't know. I just love Burns's defensive stance here and offensively. I think he can attack Edey and can get a few fouls called his way. So,
Raj, we have 3 NC State picks. Are you making it unanimous? NC State has ran this magic back, I believe, in 83 maybe.
Hey, Purdue always chokes. And
with Jimmy V,
it is time for them to choke.
Yeah. Raj, what are you liking?
Yeah, I hear you on Edey, but let's not forget he's taking 16 shots per game and averaging like 16 boards. It's not all free throws, but yeah, it's up to. I like NC State, and the reason why is defense. If you saw them against North Carolina, DJ Horn. He's 6'1", but his wingspan must be 7 feet. So Diarra is 6'11". They're long, and they can body you up, and they challenge you. Duke shot 32%, Marquette 33%, Texas Tech in the first round 38%, Oakland 36%. They are challenging everything, and they can do that to Purdue, especially. It's going to be interesting because Burns is going to be waiting right at the free throw line to put a body on Edey. Mm-hmm. And I weep for the officials. And if it's Pac-12 officials, then just get the fuck out. Just turn the shit off and fucking don't ever watch anything again because I'm gonna barf. But they're just the worst. But it's contrasting styles, and I agree. I think this is an ideal matchup for NC State, who's more athletic on the perimeter also. This is, and they've got balance. Let's not forget, Burns only scored 4 against Oakland. Horn had 29 one game. It's different guys are stepping up, and only UConn has done that. And for all those reasons, another guy, Ben Middlebrook, 6'10", 240, they got bodies. So I like the North Carolina State University sitting on outside of the bubble watching if we didn't win the ACC Wolfpack.
All right. So it's unanimous. All right. Anyone have?
That means Purdue's going to win.
Yes. We're fucked.
All right. Real quick. Anyone have NC State beating UConn? If so, why?
No.
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. So let's just pump our brakes a little bit.
Well, we're not doing a Monday morning show.
I know. No,
Dude, I'm going to go with shooting, overall skill, depth,
UConn's
just
in
all
the
the
prime
transfers and coaching in the end, like we said.
Yeah. All right.
But what a story for NC State if they make it to the championship.
Well, NC State and UConn put men's and women's both teams in the Final Four. Amazing.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, guys, it is never too early to talk about the king of them all. We are officially in draft month, which means there is hope, which, as the guys know, it's a dangerous thing. And especially with 2 of the 3 franchises we have on here, Tom is riding high after the NFC Championship run. Got to fill a few holes and see what's going. So Brandon, we'll go. Let's see. Who drafts first? The Raiders or the Titans? The Titans do, don't they?
Yeah. No. Yes.
Titans Raiders are at what? 13.
Raiders are like
13.
13.
All right. So we'll go with Titans
in order
first.
Shit.
What
Titans, Raiders, Lions?
Yeah, Titans, Raiders, Lions. Brandon, what do the Titans need? What do you think they're going to take? And looking on some mock drafts, what are you hoping for?
I like what I've seen. Joe Ott out of Notre Dame coming in at 7. We desperately need offensive line. I think they did some really good offseason acquisitions to solidify a little bit on the defense. Obviously Calvin Ridley coming in, Tony Pollard. Offense is shaping up, obviously a completely different direction than run first, kind of Derrick Henry. Now we're getting a little bit more skilled players. To me, Pollard is the same guy as Spears. Just you can interchange. You never have to change your scheme up offensively. I think that's what Callahan's going for. So to have a true third down back is synonymous with those two.
I agree.
So I like that direction. That's fine. It's completely different. And look, sometimes just changing things up and making moves just is good, but there's holes to fill. Offensive line is definitely one of them. I love if Joe Alt or whatever will slide down to us at the 7 pick would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about the change of philosophy. We've, as Titans fans, have got it, and kind of just NFL people in general, got to get it away from it's no longer Derrick Henry and him breaking it loose or punting it, And so I agree. I think Joe Alt is the pick. If he's not there,
who's he protecting?
Who's he protecting?
Yeah,
Will Levis.
That is also hinges, right? Like that's a huge, huge pivot point, and everyone believes that. Obviously, Callahan believes that Levis is the guy. So we're making all these acquisitions to build around him, which is a lot more than you can say for a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
Hence the Bears.
Or you fuck up. You did really wise signings and trades that are under contract, and you draft somebody better next year.
But the one I can't get over, if Brock Bowers is there, man, I don't know if you pass him up. He's just such a freak, and worry about the offensive line next year.
It's a tough call. That's tough. But God, we need an offensive line. I know it's not a sexy pick like Brock Bowers, but you don't understand how much that influences the movement of the offense.
Yeah.
We've got some really good skilled players, so we could survive if we can get protection, even Will Levis, if he just manages the game properly. But you got to have time back there, and that's way more important than a flashy tight end that you can never throw the ball to if you're getting sacked.
I would just
ask the Detroit Lions about offensive line and what it means.
It's so important, man. It's not sexy, but it's God.
Panay is sexy though. God, he's good.
If I was I'd go Bowers and load up the offensive line the rest of the
I
draft.
would not. I like Chick. Chick's fine. He's never had an opportunity to catch the ball because what's his name was running for his life the whole time. I don't see. He's already out of state, out of mind. I don't even know his name.
Raj going with the Raiders. The Raiders are always a entertaining team on draft night.
That's one way to put it.
What you said the Raiders are 13th?
They are 13th.
Okay, so right smack dab in the middle of the first round. What are y'all's needs? What are your wants? What do you think is going to happen? But basically, I'm asking who's going to jail next in the NFL.
That's right. Who can't afford an Uber in Vegas?
Yeah.
How much time you got, buddy? To quote Clayton Bigsby from Chappelle's show.
Love that.
Personally,
Classic.
I want. Not only do I want offensive line, I don't want anybody from Alabama again, fucking Leatherwood, out of football, and that means no J.C. Latham. I don't want Guyton either. I personally think Alt will be gone. Fashanu looks a little raw to me, despite the tools, and I've seen that before. So really, I want to go with the most well-coached, part of the Joe Moore Award winning and their run game OL coach went to Michigan State, Mihalik, I believe. But I want Penei Sewell Jr. in Fuaga, I think, from Oregon State. I think he's going to be the next great one. And, I like Minshew, dude. I don't want a quarterback there. If you looked at him versus Trevor Lawrence's stats, it was insane how much better he was. I'd love to go with the Oregon State offensive tackle. Why am I blanking on his first name? Talise Fuaga.
Right. Tom, lines sitting there. They don't have much to fill. What do they need to get them over the top?
I think their biggest need really is secondary help. Cam Sutton decided to practice his throwing arm from the third floor, so ending his career. But let's face it, he had a 97% completion percentage receivers when they were lined up against him, the ball thrown. So that is an absolute hole they need to fill. And
you can't make that up, dude. Wait, where did he go to school again? I forgot. Oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Tennessee. But anyways,
37%.
So I'm going to give you a guy that if he doesn't breathe Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, well, he goes to the same school. He's coming out of the same school that two of the players that he drafted last year came from. Cooper DeJean. I think you put him in that secondary. You can plug him in at nickel. You can put him at corner. I think he's very versatile. He's an absolute gamer. It's unfortunate that he was injured in the Big Ten championship game. I think that game could have possibly been a little bit closer if he would have been there in that backfield. But I'll give you a couple other ones. I like Latu out of UCLA, the edge guy.
He's a beast.
Detroit has proven they were a little soft in the defensive front, which caused a lot of havoc in that secondary. They didn't get enough push. They signed DJ Reader. They got James Houston coming back. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson is Aiden Hutchinson. So if you could line up a powerful edge guy opposite of him and rotate guys in, keep them fresh, along with Liam McNeil in the middle, I think that D-line could be special. They do not re-sign Josh Reynolds. So there's a potential for a first-round wide receiver. And who would fit that mold real well? I think Xavier Worthy. He's fast. He's got great hands. And then you pair him on the other side with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra in the slot with Laporta. That could be outstanding. But I do like Fashanu. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Raj. They let Jonah Jackson walk. They bring in Zeitler from Baltimore, so that was a bit of an upgrade. But he's a little, short in the tooth, or long in the tooth, I should say. So having depth at that position is going to be important. Jackson missed a lot of time last year, so they relied on Graham Glasgow to fill that role. They re-signed him. So this team has definitely been built in the trenches, and I can see them reinforcing that mantra here. So I think any of those four players that they brought in would be great. But if Cooper Jean's there, you got to grab him. I think he's an absolute steal.
So the drama, part of the drama of the NFL draft always circles around quarterbacks. Right now, looking at some projections, they've got four quarterbacks in the top 5. Over under in round 1 is 4.5. Question is, does the under hit? Does one of them slide? And if so, who all the way out of the first round? Brandon, what do you think?
I've got 4 in the first round personally. So I would take the under here.
All right, I assume you have Bo Nix sliding out of the first round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he makes it to the second. I think he's a little risky. Again, nothing against Oregon, but they've been known for being systematically driven with their quarterbacks. And, why couldn't he make it at Auburn? Why couldn't he prevail or there? It something doesn't add up. It's the same thing like when the Titans drafted Marcus
Mariota.
Mariota. Same thing. When we drafted him, I was so mad. I was like, he's such a systematic quarterback.
It goes back to like Joey Harrington, Mariota. Then who was after Mariota? Someone else got picked from there that busted out.
Yeah, I mean, they've all been bust. Any quarterback coming from Oregon. And now he's great in the system in college. Same thing.
The Jeff Tedford train. He was a coach.
Raj, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, I'm just going to ramble after that.
Right. Raj, you got over or under 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round?
Oof. I think 4 are going in the top 10, and I believe that was your pick. You had asked about that, and that was a great question. And when you look at teams that need quarterbacks, I think it's going to come down to – I think we all think that Caleb, JJ, May, and Jaden Daniels are going to go in the top 10. To me, the Giants at 6 are a question. Now, Daniel Jones has $92 million guaranteed. In 2025, they have an out, but it would be $22 million in dead cap. I think with them, they go with Adunze or somebody else to get some more weapons on that team. Jones had been productive before. So really, it's going to come down to Michael Penix. And I've seen him go all the way in the second. I agree with Brandon. Nix is the king of dump-offs with a lot of skill and speed. Does Denver take Penix at 12? It is going to be my question, because Everyone else is pretty solid. I've personally with Penix, he throws the prettiest ball, but if you watch his delivery, and Brandon can attest to this, he almost shot puts, and you can see him drop the ball sometimes way down here, and he kind of slings it. He's had 2 dislocated shoulders and 2 ACLs. He is very accurate, but he has a tendency to throw flat-footed. In the NFL, if Aiden Hutchinson's coming around and you got the ball down here, your arm's going to fucking fall off. So personally, I don't like Penix in the first, but teams are fucking stupid, so I'll take the over. I saw the Raiders trading up to get him in the second. I don't want it, but I think it's too risky, but I do think somebody's going to gamble.
Tom, what do you got? Over under 4.5.
I think. Are we talking top 10?
No. Top first round.
First round. I'm gonna go over. I think there'll be 5, and I think that the quarterback that slips is Penix. I think there's a lot of question marks, and you nailed it, Raj. His health is got to be the tip of the iceberg. His age as well. You're looking at a 6-year guy. So a lot like Hendon Hooker when Detroit drafted him, who, he would have won the Heisman if not for blowing out his knee. But I think it would have been a higher pick too. I think it's risk. You take the age and the health. And yeah, he is a little reckless with the football. And there are a lot of defensive ends that they're ball hawks. Max Crosby, they're going for that ball, and they're going to die for that ball. And that's a tough sell. And he didn't look good in his final college game against Michigan. But then again, a lot of teams didn't look good against that defense. But
there it is. So you think Nix goes, and where do you think he goes?
I think Nix goes late first round. Somebody that's already got a quarterback, somebody that can afford to sit him down.
The Ravens would be an interesting mix for a guy that's mobile, Lamar that gets hurt. Backup's been shady. I agree with you. I do.
I'm gonna go under because I think Nix and Penix are kind of interchangeable. And if you're Denver in the first round, you can get the other one in the second round because everyone's going to have their quarterback. And so, if somebody behind me drafts one, I'll take the other.
Is Denver going to trade up?
Yeah. And so I would just wait and take skill players I need and let whatever one falls to me.
I think there's going to be a bidding war for J.J. McCarthy. I think there's 2 or 3 teams
the
out
mock
there.
I'm looking at, CBS, they have him going 3rd to the Patriots.
He screams New England at least when Belichick was there.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons, as we all know.
New England, Minnesota, the Giants, Denver. This draft could get real interesting real fast.
Of the top 4 quarterbacks, so Williams, Daniels, McCarthy, and May. If one of them's going to be a bust, who is it?
Drake May.
I think it's May too.
Shown to be reckless with the football, lots of turnovers, lots of decisions. Sam Howell, same offense, similar numbers.
ACC conference, not impressed.
Absolutely. I think the others. I agree.
Yeah, I want to be different, but I think so too, even though Jaden Daniels worries me some. But yeah, those ACC quarterbacks just haven't been good.
No.
He took a lot of sacks too. He took 40 a couple of years ago.
And the ACC has just been a terrible conference since he's been there. He should have dominated.
Yeah.
Tom, did you make a pick?
Raj, I love you, brother. I think Caleb Williams is going to be the biggest bust of the bunch.
I hate that guy. I don't know why.
I don't.
I'm telling you, dude.
I don't.
Generational.
He's going to the Bears, and I think that is a graveyard for any quarterback. It's just it's the worst situation possible.
All
It's
right.
just going to be because the reality is he's only going to have his coaching staff for 1 year, and he's going to have another coaching staff next year. So it's going to be a
well, and
Their line's
it's
getting
interesting
better.
to see what they do around
Got
him.
Keenan
Yeah.
Allen in the nice, easy trade with San Diego. I'm not going to call him LA. They got your boy DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore. So yeah, but I agree. It scares the shit out of me. Nobody
I think
wants
he's
to
a
play.
great talent. I just think Chicago quarterbacks. It's
Well,
bad.
he just, I
All those
think
cold
he's a
weather
little.
cities suck.
I think
All
he's a
right.
little bit in his feelings.
Let's make the people some money.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
Hey, rule no NC State because we're all in men's. Because obviously we're all going to take them.
What did
Unless
you
we go
say?
for the
We're
over.
all
Oh,
we're all in
You
men.
can throw some money line in. You can take some first halves.
Yeah.
Raj, you seem to have it researched. What do you got?
I didn't really want you to go to me first. I got UConn women's plus 2.5 against Iowa. I will
I
take
didn't see those.
Oriyama. I'll take the
What are
Cubs.
those spreads, real quick?
So in the women's, Iowa's 2.5 point favorite. Scar, South Carolina against NC State is 11.5. The total for South Carolina, NC State is 139.5. And for UConn, Iowa, it's 162.5. So
And you
give
said
me
Iowa's
UConn.
minus 2.5 or UConn's minus 2.5?
Iowa is minus 2.5. So I will take UConn. I'd take the money line at 2.5. Get me a little bit better odds there.
All right, Tom, what do you got?
I'm gonna go a little parlay action here. I've got UConn men's to win over 158.5, and Donovan Klingen to score 20 points. At BetMGM has that at plus 550.
What?
And yeah, and I'm gonna throw an extra one in here. I'm gonna go NASCAR for you, Robbie. I'm going to take Joey Logano to win this week at Martinsville. He finished second last week, plus 1,200 for that one. So,
I like that.
Not a big fan of Logano, but I think he's starting to drive a little bit better. So, 12 plus 1,200, give me that.
I'm going to do a parlay as well. I'm taking both UConns. I'm taking UConn women and UConn men. So I'm taking the UConn women to get a little points, get to win, then just take UConn men for an easy, just slight juicer up there to get a little money.
Tom, you got it. At first I thought, wow, they're clinging against Alabama too, but with teams that are smaller that can run, that team is so well balanced. They distribute the ball. Obviously, Vegas expects them to kind of be in a jump shooting, at least to some extent, but he's only scored over 21 time. And that was his last game in the tournament he got 22. But it's all about matchups, and I love your call, but Vegas is they're fucking mean. Because I was shocked by that at first. I'm like,
all right,
what?
we have a in the text box, Braves versus Arizona money line parlayed with Strider 5Ks, and that is Bet Your Nuts for tomorrow.
That'll be
What's
good
the
game.
over on free throw attempts for Zach Edey? Could you check that out, Rob?
I don't think there's an over on the board. Brandon?
So I am, as we talked about, you've got to hammer that NC State. You can get it on ESPN Bet app at plus 9.5. A lot of other apps have it at 8.5. Plus 9.5. I would sprinkle a little on the money line, but my favorite play in that game is actually the under 146.5. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a defensive game, not quite outside perimeter shooters. I think it's going to be one down low in the paint and foul. So I love the one under 146.5. And I'm going against the grain here. Give me the women's Iowa -2.5. I think they win by 4 points or more. I think Paige Buckets just doesn't quite get it done. So.
Well, there you go. There's making money. Next week, before we get to our final thoughts, we will have our Masters preview. It is that time of the year. Cross my fingers. Hopefully having some tickets. We'll see. But yes, we'll do a Masters preview next year. Maybe sprinkle in a little more NFL draft. So be sure to catch up with us next week. But now on to the final thoughts to close out the show.
Final word.
Final words.
Final words. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
That's a good segue. I'm going to preview the Masters here because I'm so damn excited about it. This is like the Super Bowl for golf. So this is going to be one of the most competitive Masters that we've seen in a while. And I'll tell you why. You've got all these headlines coming into play here. We've got the whole LIV PGA kind of segregation going on with, some of the best players in the world or previous best players in the world now losing rankings because they're on LIV, a la Jon Rahm. And then you have one of the most dominant players that we've seen since Tiger Woods. Not quite as dominant yet, and he would take another decade to do so. But he is a favorite every time we go. And I'm talking about the one and only Scottie Scheffler. He is plus 375 to win the tournament right now, which is pretty damn low to win a tournament. So here's I'm going to preface it like this. So does Scottie continue to dominate with the LIV players coming into this major? Because he is a field favorite always in any PGA Tour event, right? So does he continue to dominate? He's at plus 375, like I said. Can Rahm go back-to-back, right? Can Rahm do only what Tiger and maybe one or two other guys have done? He's at plus 1,200. Does Koepka not choke this time? He choked against Rahm in the final round last year, and he's at plus 1,200. Or does Rory complete his Grand Slam for his career? He has been known to choke in these big events. He cannot win the Masters for some reason. He's also at plus 1,200. Or do you see a guy like Wyndham Clark, who's been the hot guy in golf alongside Scottie Scheffler? He's at plus 1,600. So it's a very, very interesting matchup here coming into the Masters, and I think it's going to be one of the most competitive ones that we've seen, especially with these headlines coming in.
Yes, and we know who's doing the agenda next week.
I can't wait, man. I'm so excited about this.
I'll be brief with mine because I was long in the beginning. My final words are the Oakland A's of sports, Tennessee basketball. It's been a great season, still trying to win the last game. But it was a great season, probably one of my favorites. Dalton Knecht's been my favorite player to watch UT, and hopefully the Hawks don't mess up and get him if he falls to them. So thank you, Dalton. Thank you, Vols, for the best season in UT basketball history. Still a little short, but we'll get there.
Rob, real quick. I haven't heard any feedback. What's the word on the dummies that want Barnes gone? Is it a little bit more quiet this year?
It is so silent. I haven't heard a single word thus far, which, as you know from this fan base, is shocking.
Absolutely shocking.
Maybe the dumb ones just locked themselves out of their cell phones. Who knows? Which one of y'all wants to go next?
Go ahead, Rush.
Yeah, I don't want to follow Tom. I'm just really stoked on just basketball in general this weekend. There's just so many personalities And, I loved my girl Juju, who's a true freshman, averaging the most at 27 points as a freshman in basketball history. USC, I'm going to toot our own horn, but there's a great documentary called The Women of Troy. Tina Thompson, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Miller, arguably the greatest player ever. And if there was a knee procedure for an ACL back then, you just kind of put on the Tin Man's knee. She would have been the greatest ever. And then Cynthia Cooper, who graduated in 1986, but then played 13 years later in the WNBA and has won the most championships. She won 4 in a row with Houston. But just going on with Clark versus Buckets, if you look at the metrics, they're almost identical. Cardosa starting fights and just everywhere you go, personalities. Edie, Burns, Sears, the porn star, Grant Nelson. Dude, I am so stoked.
It's going to be fun. Friday, Saturday night is where it's at. Yeah.
Let's see how the officials call things. That UConn balance, and finally fucking stop leaving the championship game Monday night. I hate that shit. Most people hate that shit. I get it. But, move the Final Four to Friday and make the fucking championship game Sunday, because that would be much better. And I believe the women play Sunday.
Yeah, Friday and Sunday.
Not?
Mm-hmm. Friday and Sunday.
Friday, Sunday.
Saturday, Monday. Yep.
Capitalize on this. Do it all together. Or maybe that's why they don't, but move that shit. But yeah, just an awesome basketball weekend.
They could do what they did Tennessee and make them play both games in one day. Whatever.
At least the final game they could, go Thursday, Friday, women and men, and play them both on Sunday. Yeah, well, regardless, just personalities galore. I love it.
It's gonna be great.
All right, Tommy.
All right, my final words are: what an embarrassment. And who do I aim those words to? The ownership of the aforementioned Oakland Athletics. News came out today that this will be their last year playing in Oakland. They're going to take their last 2 seasons and play in a minor league baseball stadium in Sacramento. I think we've all known ownership for the A's has been abysmal. This was the tip of the iceberg. The fact that he's moving out of Oakland because Oakland doesn't want to finance a new stadium, yet he's going to open up his pocketbooks in Vegas. I just think it's bad, and I feel for those fans in Oakland. They're probably some of the most rabid fans. I mean, Raj will tell you.
The Coliseum back in the day when it would rock, dude, it was loud.
They've got their horns, their bells, and it's what a travesty for a great fan base to lose yet another sports franchise. I just think it's bad, and I hope the fans who have been boycotting, I hope the fans continue to boycott for the rest of the year and make the Coliseum emptier every single game. And ironically enough, the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas yesterday was its final day. They're going to knock it down to make room for the stadium. So just a sad situation in Oakland. I hope the MLB does something for them down the road, possible franchise, but unfortunately the city's going to have to get behind it. And I'm not sure if that's a possibility. So just a sad day in baseball, and coming from ratings that have hit records of after last year, and teams like my Tigers, starting 5-1 this year, a lot of excitement. And then you look on the flip side, and there's a lot of disappointment. And I think those fans were going to be really upset in 3 years. They're going to get upset here now, since this will be their last year. So shame on Oakland A's ownership.
Ironic you said Tropicana's coming down, by the way, because the Rays keep winning every year and they can't put 10,000 in that fucking stadium. So
And
they got to be
building a
bummed
new
that
one.
They're getting a new one
Exactly.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Move them
they're
to
building a new one.
Nashville. I'd move them to Nashville, the A's to Vegas, and it's I agree, it's a travesty. West Sacramento minor league stadium.
Yeah.
It's a money deal. I mean, you're going to get a streaming fan base in Vegas versus, a half empty stadium most of the days. So that, I mean, business wise, it makes sense. I get it. But obviously there's something going on in Oakland when, both franchises have left. So
Last thing, Robbie, Musselman to USC.
That's a great hire. Great hire.
I'll take it, dude. Especially in the Big Ten. It'll be interesting.
Andy Enfield is a really good coach, but USC just upgraded and did it quickly. It reminds me, and I hope you guys have this. It reminds me real quick when Tennessee lost their coach and Barnes was there the next day. Instant upgrade and
big time. He's a great fit. Great fit.
All right, gentlemen. Yes, again, follow us: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube.
Hey.
I got that.
Good.
You got it. You got it. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation. Cheers.